The journey to South America is long and arduous. Orion travels under false names and through back channels, avoiding detection as he makes his way to a remote village on the edge of the Amazon rainforest. The village, little more than a collection of shanties, is a place where law and order are mere suggestions. It's the kind of place where people go to disappear or to be forgotten. Orion arrives in the dead of night, his presence drawing curious stares from the locals. He approaches the village tavern, a ramshackle building with a thatched roof and walls of rough-hewn wood. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of sweat, smoke, and cheap alcohol. A few men, hunched over their drinks, glance up as he enters but quickly return to their business. At the back of the room, a man sits alone, nursing a bottle of rum. He's middle-aged, with a wiry frame and a scar running down the side of his face. Orion recognizes him from the description he had been given, a local guide named Mateo, known for his knowledge of the jungle and his ability to navigate the most dangerous terrain. "Mateo?" Orion asks, approaching the table. The man looks up, his eyes narrowing. "Who's asking?" "Orion Black. I need a guide to take me to the ruins." Mateo's expression darkens. "The ruins? You mean the temple? You don't want to go there, gringo. That place is cursed. Men who go in don't come out." Orion sits down across from him, unfazed. "I've heard the stories. I'm not here for rumors. I'm here for a job." Mateo takes a swig of rum, studying Orion with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "What's a man like you doing here? You don't look like a tourist." "I'm not," Orion replies, his tone leaving no room for doubt. He pulls out a stack of bills and places them on the table. "I'm paying you to take me to the temple. No questions, no detours." Mateo's eyes flicker to the money, and after a long pause, he nods. "We leave at first light. Be ready." The jungle is alive with sound as Orion and Mateo make their way through the dense undergrowth the next day. The air is thick with humidity, and the canopy above blocks out much of the sunlight, casting the jungle floor in perpetual twilight. Orion moves with the practiced ease of someone who has spent a lifetime in the wild, while Mateo leads the way, cutting through the vegetation with a machete. "So, what's your story?" Mateo asks after a few hours of walking. "You're not the first gringo to come looking for the temple, but you're different. You know what you're doing." Orion remains silent for a moment, then replies, "I'm looking for an old friend. He found something in that temple, something important. I'm here to finish what he started." Mateo glances back at him. "You're talking about Professor Thorne, aren't you? I heard stories about him. Some say he went mad, others say he found a treasure that could change the world." Orion doesn't respond, his focus on the path ahead. The jungle grows denser, the sounds of wildlife becoming more ominous. They wade through rivers teeming with piranhas, climb steep hills covered in slick mud, and evade the attention of venomous snakes that hang like deadly ornaments from the trees. After hours of trekking, they reach a clearing. In the center stands the temple, a massive stone structure almost completely swallowed by the jungle. Vines creep up its walls, and the stone is covered in moss and lichen. But the architecture is unmistakably ancient, with carvings that hint at a civilization long lost to time. "There it is," Mateo says, his voice hushed with a mix of reverence and fear. "The Temple of the Lost Ones. The locals call it La Tumba de los Condenados, the Tomb of the Damned." Orion approaches the temple, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and dread. The entrance is flanked by two massive statues of warriors, their faces stern and unyielding. The air is heavy with the weight of centuries, and Orion can almost feel the eyes of the long dead watching him. "This is as far as I go," Mateo says, stopping at the edge of the clearing. "You go in there, you're on your own." Orion nods, understanding the unspoken warning. He pulls out a flashlight and steps into the darkened entrance of the temple, his senses on high alert. The air inside is cool and damp, the smell of earth and stone filling his nostrils. The walls are covered in carvings, scenes of battles, rituals, and sacrifices, all telling the story of a civilization that once thrived here. As he ventures deeper into the temple, the light from the entrance fades, leaving him in near total darkness. He switches on the flashlight, the beam cutting through the blackness to reveal a narrow corridor leading deeper into the heart of the structure. Orion's footsteps echo in the silence, each step taking him closer to the secrets that have been buried here for centuries. He knows that the temple will be filled with traps, mechanisms designed to protect the treasure from those unworthy of it. His eyes scan the floor and walls, looking for signs of danger. In the distance, he hears a faint sound, almost like a whisper. He freezes, straining to hear. The sound grows louder, and Orion realizes it's not a whisper, it's the wind, moving through the temple's corridors, creating an eerie, almost mournful wail. He continues forward, his flashlight beam catching glimpses of ancient murals depicting gods and monsters. The further he goes, the more oppressive the air becomes, as if the temple itself is alive, watching his every move. Finally, he reaches a large chamber at the end of the corridor. The ceiling is high, with shafts of light filtering through cracks in the stone. In the center of the room stands a stone pedestal, upon which rests a golden medallion inscribed with runes that glow faintly in the darkness. Orion approaches the pedestal cautiously, his senses on high alert. He knows this is likely a trap. Ancient civilizations often protected their most valuable treasures with deadly defenses, but he also knows that this medallion is the key to finding Elias. And he can't turn back now. He examines the pedestal and the surrounding floor for any signs of triggers. His years of experience have taught him to spot the slightest irregularities, cracks in the stone, hidden pressure plates, or thin wires. After a careful inspection, he's convinced the pedestal is safe to approach. With a deep breath, Orion reaches out and takes the medallion. The moment his fingers close around it, the ground beneath him shifts with a low rumble, and the walls of the chamber begin to move. "Damn it," Orion mutters, pocketing the medallion and sprinting toward the exit. The walls are closing in, massive stone blocks grinding together with a deafening roar. He barely makes it through the narrow passage before the chamber seals itself with a thunderous crash. The corridor ahead is collapsing, ancient stone slabs falling from the ceiling as the temple's defenses activate. Orion runs at full speed, dodging debris and leaping over gaping chasms that open up in the floor. The sound of the temple's destruction echoes all around him, growing louder with each passing second. He reaches the entrance just as the entire structure begins to shudder violently. Without looking back, he dives through the doorway and tumbles into the clearing outside. Behind him, the temple collapses in on itself, centuries of history reduced to rubble in a matter of moments. Orion lies on the ground, panting heavily as he stares up at the darkening sky. The medallion is safe in his pocket, but he knows that this is only the beginning. Elias's message was clear. There are others who are after the treasure, and they will stop at nothing to get it. When he finally sits up, he realizes that Matteo is gone. The guide's tracks lead back into the jungle, but there are signs of a struggle. Broken branches, disturbed earth, and the unmistakable mark of boot prints heading in multiple directions. "They've found us," Orion says to himself, his eyes narrowing. He knows that whoever is after the treasure is close, and they're not playing by the same rules. Orion checks his gear and sets off into the jungle, determined to find Elias before it's too late. The hunt has only just begun.